Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I grew up in a town pretty far from a major city, and the truth is, it was a much different time. When I was in the early years of primary school, in a town where everyone knew each other, I befriended the child of a family who had emigrated to my country only recently. And there was a language barrier. They acquired land close to the tracks that could take you to a city and built their lives there, away from everyone else. It really didn't help their integration. Put a real target on the oldest child's back that first school semester, the same one I went to school with. Before the end of that school year, though, the father became quite handy around town. He was professionally trained as a machinist, but found local work as a mechanic. The mother was very outgoing and gave violin lessons on Saturdays. She made sure they became at least recognizable in the town. Over the holiday, they went away to meet relatives in the city, who were visiting from their country of origin, I believe Bulgaria. So they were to be gone for exactly 1 week and return in time for a social gathering organized by the people in the town, my parents included. The mother, let's call her Mrs. B, was going to play violin for everyone, only something was very different about her. She arrived alone, the day before the whole group had planned on coming back. The perplexing bit, something I didn't personally recall, is that she arrived in the middle of the day on the side of town, opposite to the train station. When I was growing up in Germany, the economy was quite bad, so it was not uncommon to be wearing the same dress 3 times a week, etc. So she was walking into town in the same clothes she left in with no luggage or family. I only heard about this from my mother, who described Mrs. B's behavior akin to her cousin, who had suffered a lobotomy during his teenage years. So I did witness my own neighbor guide her to her home. She seemed very frazzled. Her personality had made a U-turn. That night I recall being very restless in my sleep. I shared a room in the attic of our house. It was very cool in the summer. My parents slept on the 2nd floor of our house. I had a terrible fear of the dark, so going down the dark spiral staircase was out of the question. I sat by the circular window and watched outside. Of course, there was nothing to be seen, aside from the occasional bird and a cat. I sat watching until my eyes got heavy, but then the cat came scurrying into view, really running after something I didn't see. I kept watching, and then came Mrs. B, in a full-out sprint coming what looked like after the cat, in the same clothes I had seen her in earlier. She stopped short of going out of my view and stood there. She didn't flinch, stood there. I watched for what felt like forever, and then the next thing I knew, I was being woken up by my siblings for chores and breakfast. That next day, the whole family arrived, without the mom. The unfortunate circumstance was that the father couldn't speak nearly as well as the mother. We met them at the station with some meat and other goods, and they seemed pretty dry. When my father asked how the trip was, he said simply that he wished his wife wouldn't have had to stay back due to illness, and that he was very tired. My father did not press it. They exchanged some more small talk, and we headed back to our house to prepare for the evening. She never ended up playing violin for us that evening, only because she was back in the city, said her man. I did hear rumors that someone had broken into their house while they were gone. The father, son, and daughter eventually moved to the city, as the father found better work there. I didn't see the son again until I was in university. I did ask him about the events, which I didn't recall nearly as well then. He said she was in a catatonic state after they were hiking in some woods north of the city where they met their relatives. He did tell me she recovered from her ailment shortly after they moved to the city and claimed to have very disturbing nightmares or even visions that she was cursed or afflicted by some terrible thing. He's the only one I saw again, and it was only by chance. The story, much less detailed than this, is sort of an urban legend in the town I grew up in. I had the pleasure of hearing it the last time I was there, though it's much more urban now, the town. If ever I had an experience where it seemed like there was a duplicate or imposter doing some kind of malevolent work, it was definitely that year/summer of my childhood.
Not much to say, though I will say it sucks being stuck talking to one. First time. Was dark in the middle of the desert, sitting with Buddy on watch. Notice a woman walking through the brush. Point this out to Buddy. He takes a look and shrugs. Ask if we still go or should we interfere. Said we got plenty of time, just watch. Both of us watching, while off and on, one of us takes a break to look around. Eventually, I noticed something weird was going on with her. Point this out to Buddy. We both watch while this woman turns into a coyote, which then lopes away. Look at each other. What the fuck was that? I asked him. He states that sometimes weird shit happens and that it's best to just not talk about it. Why? Who would believe us? Good point. Get back to being on watch. I am so demanding a bonus. He looks at me, shrugs, and says, yeah, that tends to happen. Much later, gets sent into a gas station for drinks and snacks. Notice a woman that looks familiar. Ah, shit. Go and get all the stuff. Walk right past her, couldn't help but shiver. Something was off about her. Get in line for the cash register. Notice she walks up right behind and smiles. One of the weirdest, scariest conversations I have ever had. Finally pay and leave. Get in the ride, Buddy notices. I look spooked. He asks what's up, ask him if he remembers that one time with Coyote Chick. He gets this strange look and tells me not to say any more. As we're pulling away, notice the woman comes out and stares before ducking behind a corner. While driving for a little while, I noticed a coyote in the brush, staring with weird-ass eyes.
So last September, my uncle had a marital breakdown, so he stayed over a lot, and his sons would visit and stay a few days. I used to babysit a lot as my little brother, and the youngest of the uncle's sons are both 11. The house I live in is oldish, had a bit of history, and belonged to elderly people. The usual spookies happened, like footsteps in the attic and shit. Then one time I was babysitting. It was roughly 11 p.m., and I was chilling to some music. Someone knocked on the door, and I have always had a habit of shouting out, "Who is it?" Well, the reply was, "Garde, potato coppers. Sir, open the door, please." I was like, oh shit, paranoid off my head, speculating the neighbors complained or something. When I opened the door, the 2 armed response officers were asking if I had heard or seen any conspicuous activity. I said no, and they explained 3 cases of breaking and entering, and assault had happened on my street within an hour, one of them being my neighbor. They went their way, and I never told my mam since I didn't want her freaking out. Fast forward a week or two, and it's the same premise as the night, except it's 5 p.m. and bright out. My brother loves paranormal shit, so he's always trying to be creepy or pranking. A few hours later, both the little cousin and my bro come in distressed, saying a tall man is watching them from the back of the garden. I call bullshit, but the cousin, a hardy streetwise gent, began bawling, crying. So I decided to look out there. There is a tall fucker that seems to be in an aardvark, just crouching there. I nope and lock the back door and windows and call me Ma to tell her to move her shit over here. She comes over thinking it's a prank. She looks and sees the dude and shouts out the window. The dude does fuck all, not even reacting. Hours go by and he's still there, so my mum calls the police and her friend. The friend arrives a little later, a big tall guy, and he was steaming drunk with a hurley. Dave, Ma's friend, gives no shit and runs out at the thing. Not wanting to seem like a pansy, I tailed after him with a hurley of my own. The thing just fucking darts across the garden, swerving a trampoline and bushes like Usain Bolt on adrenaline. After a brief few moments, it just runs up the garden, over a thin metal sheet fence, and is supposedly gone. A paddy wagon then turns up with armed response units. We relay the whole event to them, and we all go out to the garden to look around. The metal fence was trashed, and the Gardaí said it may have been someone going stir-fry over hard narcotics. David screams out that he can see him in the bushes behind the metal fence, and everyone glares over in that direction. I nearly shat myself as it ran down the garden. So fast, no one even had a chance to try reacting, and all that was heard was a loud crash of the back door being slammed. Everyone goes full DEFCON 3, and the Gardaí turn white as ghosts as they go in to investigate. The front door was never opened as you'd hear it easily. It has a weird left-hand lock, so for a lot of people it's awkward, plus it's a big and loud door. As the guards check upstairs, they notice the entrance to the attic, which has no ladders or nearby objects to prop yourself up to it, was opened and left ajar. The guards were terrified and suggested calling backup before going up there, but Dave went up with one of their flashlights. Nothing at all was up there, and nothing ever came of it. There's me spooky story.
Be with friends in the local park. 6 of us total. 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. Friend and I take her car to go get beer. No one had been drinking beforehand. Everyone sober. It's only a block or two away. She waits in car while I run in for beer since she was only 19, I'm 22. I come back. What? She left me. Angrily walk back towards the park. Get stopped by a cop since I'm carrying beer and I look younger than I am. He asks to see my ID and asks me where I'm going. I show him and tell him I'm walking home. Notices my last name and realizes he knows my dad. Smallish town. Everyone knows everyone. Turns out, he used to be over at my house when I was a kid. It's a quiet night, so he decides to pull to the side and bullshit with me for a while. You've grown up so much, etc. I give him my dad's new cell number because he wants to catch up with him, blah blah blah. Point is, I talk to him a while, a good 20 minutes. Finally, he gets a call and leaves, so I go back to park. Get there. Friends all look at me confused. Apparently, I had come back to the car in a disoriented state, and when the girl who drove asked me about the beer, I'd told them they were out. Store's never been out of beer. She's dumb for believing that. They tell me I rode back with her and had been at the park with them up until a few minutes ago, acting like I was high. I had apparently just left around the corner saying I was going to buy cigarettes. They thought it was odd since I don't even smoke, but figured I was just high somehow and ignored it. Most of friends are X-Files as well, so they quickly put the pieces together. I assume that they're just screwing with me. They stick to their story and remain freaked out. I think they're fucking with me. Regardless, decide to go to one of their houses to drink. Still think they're fucking with me, but it was getting cold, so I went along. Next day, one of my friends shoots me a message on Facebook with a YouTube link. Da fuck? It's all of us at the park. I have no memory of the conversations that were taking place. Throughout the whole video, I kept doing weird things. At one point, a friend hands me a soda. I just stare at the can like I don't even know what the hell it is. When the camera comes back to me, the soda is completely gone, can and all. More bullshit of them acting goofy at the park. I don't see much participation from me. Just sitting on the curb staring at something. Suddenly, the worst realization ever. Notice that the me in the video's right arm is tattoo-free. I have a fairly large but not massive tattoo on my arm. Rewind video. Throughout the whole video, my tattoo is just straight missing.
And of course, he never posts the link.
I got one from France. This happened to me a couple of years ago and I still nope out of it. Be me, 18 years old, 2 years ago. Live in a rural area in the north of France. Not completely out of nowhere, but there's a big-ass forest nearby that's protected. No building or any shit in it because of protection laws. One day after the school year, I decided to go camping there with friends and booze. Forest isn't downright creepy, but there's some really huge trees and no noise at night. One of the guys that came with us is called William. Not really one of my best friends, he's weird. Socially awkward kind of dude. Quite nice though. We just hiked to the middle of nowhere in a sort of small sandy plain surrounded by trees. We get there around 3 p.m. and start drinking, having a good time with the boombox and such. At some point, William decides to go take a piss. Comes back 20 minutes later, sits with us, but he stays really quiet. Even more than he was before, even with the booze helping. Some of our friends decide to leave because pussies don't want to stay in the dark in the forest. At this point, it's getting kinda dark in the forest, but whatevs. William says that he'll walk with them and then come back. Kinda weird because it'll take him maybe an hour to go back and forth, but he says he wants to do it. They go, 4 of them, William, 2 girls, and another dude. About 30 minutes later, I got a call from one of the girls telling me that William was acting real creepy, like trying to get her to come alone with him to talk. She just noped every time because apparently he had a really intense look about him. That doesn't sound at all like him. He's usually shy and quiet. Don't think about it because of partying. He eventually comes back, and there's something really creepy about him. Can't really tell what, but he just stares at everyone. I was the only one who knew him a bit, so no one really noticed. At some point, he comes up to me and asks me to come with him to show me something cool. What? You'll see, it's really awesome. Nope, nope, nope. I wasn't really scared, but he just seemed odd and I didn't want to go alone. Plus, it's getting real dark and creepy in these woods. Boombox is out of battery, no more music, and the woods are really silent. This is the forest. It was kinda spooky at night. Talk and drink for a few more hours. William apparently asked other people to come with him. Learned that the day after. Nobody did because he just seemed weird. Set up tents, we each have a small individual one. Early in the morning, I get up because I have to take a massive leak. It's still pretty dark. See a shadow just standing there in the middle of camp. What the fuck, it's William. He's just staring at the tents with those intense eyes. Call him. He doesn't answer or anything. I go to him and shake him. He finally kind of snapped out of it and says, "I'm not tired at all. Hey, you want to go for a walk?" Ain't no chance. Just say no and go back to sleep. In the morning, we all start packing up, but not William. He says, "I'm gonna stay here for a while, just to think." What the fuck, fine. He's just creepy anyway. As we leave, I look back and he's just staring at us and standing still. He just smiles at me. Creepiest smile ever. Later heard he ran away from home and disappeared. It might just be paranoia, but I'll never forget that smile.
Here's a story my dad always likes to tell when we're camping or even just sitting around the fire pit in our backyard. It's from when he was in middle school, so about 1968 or so. We live in a rural area in northeast Texas, right about where Arkansas meets Texas and Louisiana. Down the road from here in Arkansas is a park called Alex Smith Park. Local lore says it was used as a satanic ritual location in the earlier part of last century. Anyway, Dad's story: be camping with his best friend one summer night. Set up tent down the hill from where some older boys from the same town are camping. Build fire bullshit. Keep hearing sounds from all around the site. Assume it's animals. Go to bed. Sounds of breaking twigs and movement continue and get closer. Finally, something bumps the tent. Check outside and find boot prints. Think it's the older guys pranking us. Go confront them about it. Nope, not us. Probably just imagining things, kid. Y'all move your tent up here with us. Move tent to their area and sit around the fire with them. A few minutes later, the noises start up again. One of the older guys takes a flashlight and shines it down the hill. Stranger is shimmying up the hill on his belly commando style with a knife between his teeth. What the fuck are you doing? Man stands up, says something indistinguishable, and walks back down the hill and into the woods.
Okay, this was 7 years ago when I was 16, so I still remember almost all the details, but I might forget a couple things. My friends and I were all into airsoft. Friend we'll call Sean had a huge backyard, so at night we had plenty of wars in that backyard. One night there were 8 of us. A little bit of background: I live in a somewhat populated town in Idaho. My friend's place was on a corner and had one house to the left of it. Behind his backyard's chain-link fence, there was a large canal covered in dead trees and such. Behind that was a huge field with a few trees here and there. During the last battle we had that night, one team of 4 went into the forest to hide. About 5 minutes into the game, we heard them screaming and running out of the forest. My friends loved to pull off ridiculous strategies. My team all targeted them, ready for them to start laughing and shooting us. Almost all at the same time, we realized that they had actual fear in their eyes and some of them didn't have their airsoft guns. We ran up to the other side of the canal and asked them what's going on. One friend, we'll call Josh, screamed at us to run back to the house. We still were skeptical, but as soon as they ran past us, we booked it back to the house. Another friend on that team, named Zane, yelled that they heard some animal make a sound that sounded like laughing and another that sounded like crying. I still was thinking they were pulling our chain, but hey, this was interesting. We all climbed back over the fence and officially agreed that airsofting was over. The other 2 guys on Zane and Josh's team, brothers, decided to go home right then and there. They left in the next 10 minutes. Sean was demanding what was going on, and his parents were annoyed with the screaming. They will chill, but didn't like the loud noises past midnight. I'm done greentexting this. I'm just going to continue telling the story so I don't leave out important parts. Josh and Zane started telling us how all of them were getting ready to help one of the brothers into the tree to pick us off when we got there. Right as they almost had him up, they heard the noise that I described before. Josh and one of the brothers had dropped their guns and just ran. Sean's parents were laughing like we were all scaring them on purpose. After seeing our friends' faces and their fear, we all wanted to go figure out what the fuck was scaring the fuck out of them. Josh and Zane refused to leave the house, but being teenagers who have guns, we were all for going out there. Sean's dad agreed to go with us, and he actually grabbed his rifle and went with us outside. As soon as we were on the gravel path, we realized it was really quiet. Way too quiet. A couple of us, myself included, were saying, "Fuck this, let's go back." Sadly, we didn't. We went to the edge of the forest area and could see most of it in front of us. Right as we were heading towards the forest, Sean's dad told us very harshly to stop moving. We all started saying and complaining why. We wanted to all go forward. But then we followed what his eyes were focusing on, and we saw this figure dart in between trees and crawl all around them. It looked like a human figure. It obviously was. I can remember it and promise you that it was a humanoid figure. Sean's dad yelled at us, quietly, to go back to the house. We started running back with the dad bringing up the rear, but we saw him looking back once every few seconds. We finally got back to the house where the mom was making hot chocolate for Josh and Zane to calm them down. When we got to the kitchen, Sean's dad pulled aside his mom to another room. We all just looked at Josh and Zane and nodded, letting them know we believed them. They looked at us with gratitude that we believed them, but got pale realizing whatever it was out there. Sean's parents walked back into the room with the mom having a fake smile on. "Hey guys, let's just stay inside for the night. You guys have had too much fun already, it seems." None of us were tired and didn't want to stay cooped up in the house. We all settled on that we could sit out in the hot tub and relax. I forgot to mention a small fact that Sean had a dog with a kennel in the back corner of the yard farthest from the road. This dog was the loyalest dog I'd ever met. When we got outside in our swimming trunks, right away the dog started barking towards the back fence. Sean's dad walked out, still with the rifle, and said he was going to put the dog in its kennel for the night. He was still obviously a bit freaked out, which was odd to see because he was a large dude. Anyways, probably 20 minutes pass, and we're all relaxing in the hot tub. Sean's parents let us drink, so we each had a beer or two. We were laughing about what had happened, trying to shake off the fear. It was honestly a nice night. Stars were out. 6 friends laughing about random shit. Crickets were chirping. And then they didn't. It suddenly got deadly quiet. I remember one of us saying someone must have shit themselves because it stank. Sean got up and turned on the porch light, just to make sure there wasn't any brown in the hot tub water. The porch light illuminated the entire yard almost. We could see outlines of everything. Like I said, though, it got deadly quiet. The smell got worse. None of us spoke, though. We all admitted later on that we all were suddenly scared again and didn't want to admit it. Suddenly, near the dog's kennel in the back, we all see this human figure easily jump over the fence. That part of the fence was wooden, and probably 8 to 10 feet high. It jumped over it like you would a 4-foot fence. It landed in the backyard, and it just stood there. For 10 seconds, we all stared at it, and it stared at us. It had shoulder-length hair, hunched over, and had shining eyes. Right then, Sean's loyal dog started barking up a storm. We saw this thing turn its head slowly to the dog and make a sound that I likened to a bobcat. That riled up the dog even worse. That was our cue to stop trying to be tough teenage boys and admit we were scared to hell. We all stumbled out of the hot tub, leaving everything we had there, and ran into the house. We were soaking wet and screaming, crying. I personally went into full baby mode and laid on the kitchen floor with my face towards the floor and just started saying, "Make it go away." Sean's dad has a set of balls on him because he grabbed his rifle and said, "Our dog is out there." That kind of inspired some of us, not me, to grab their airsoft rifles, kitchen knives, flashlights, etc., and go with him. About 3 of us stayed inside and waited and watched from the window. Sean's dad led the way and had his son shining the flashlight everywhere. Their dog ran to them halfway through the backyard. We all realized that the kennel was closed shut earlier, and now somehow the dog was out and about. They walked to the kennel and saw that the door latch was broken off. We all walked out there after they searched the yard for anything, and then we decided to stay in the house the rest of the night. Sean and I got up around 8 the next morning and went to get our stuff in the forest. We got them, and on the way back, we stopped by the other side of the fence. Swear to God, we saw animal tracks. I thought they looked like a bobcat's, but Sean did say they looked like a goat's.
I remember from my times at a camp in the California woods. My cabin held a party, and it got paused since a friend who spent his time looking down from our living room window at the paths below said a man down there was watching us. We went down, and it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure the counselors were adamant about it being the custodian. However, to calm the kiddies in our cabin, we assembled a party to go down and look. After like 20 minutes of standing around in front of the forest, a group of campers on a night hike come by and chew us out for waving our flashlights around and getting light in some eyes. They leave, and we're still creeped out. Eventually, after like 5 minutes, the custodian comes out wheeling an empty barrow behind him. The counselors send us up immediately, and we go to bed a bit later. I forgot about the story, but /X/ awakened it.
Friend tells me a story. Says he was in the forest, and he saw a lady. He tried to talk to her, but she ignores him. He looks away and back to her, claims she disappeared. He looked for a while and found nothing. Asks me to help him look around the forest again. Agree to go over the weekend. We decided to camp. We get our shit set up and decide to walk around a bit. No luck, but it's nice out, so I don't mind. We get bored and head back to our camp for snacks. End up hanging out and dicking around until nightfall. So, we get a campfire started and cook a dinner because we've been out and running around all day now, not really seeing anything except for a few animals. We start chatting it up and I tell a few ghost stories about stuff in Austin. We're feeling good, and he admits he was probably just seeing things when I ask him about this lady. I shrug, say it's all cool, and we go about our biz. We decide to go back out into the forest just for fun, because neither of us is tired. We're out pretty far from our campsite, crossing a little creek, but all is still going well. We hear a sound out in the distance, so we turn off our flashlights and proceed cautiously. We spot the source. It's a lady. We get closer and slowly approach her, making sure not to surprise her. Friend decides to say hello again. She just glares at me, continuing to ignore him, and walks off. Disappears further into the forest. Genuinely curious now, Friend decides he wants to head back, so I ask him to wait at the creek, and I'll be right there. I proceed forward, and I see her again. She turns to where I'm hiding, and makes this low growl. She runs behind some trees. I run a little bit. I see a wolf. Freaked out because holy shit, that's not a lady. She makes more angry sounds at me and runs off, so I give it up and head back to camp with my friend. I tell him what I saw. He seems freaked out. I shrug, dismiss it. We go to bed. We wake up around 5 a.m. to some howls. We pack up and decide to head back out of the area. On the path out, I think I see a person a ways out, but it's dark and I don't really give a shit. I mostly want to head home. Friend and I are almost out, but we're distracted by deer remains on the path. We look around as we go around it, and she's watching us. Freak out a little bit. My bro is running back to the truck before I even notice. She disappears. I get my run on too. Nearly to the truck, my friend is loading it up. All of a sudden, I'm knocked on my ass and there are teeth in my arm. Wolf growls at me, but my friend shoots a tree and scares it off. Get my ass in the truck. We speed off. Never return to that area of the forest. The end.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight. Central Pine.